Hello there, Ray here, and today guys I have a simple farm which produces an insane amount of sugarcane, which also can be converted into bone meal. About every 2 seconds it's producing 15 sugarcane just with a single machine, but you can also make this as large as you want. This design works in 1.14 and should also be future proof, so that will work in 1.15 when it comes out. I also have some miniature versions over there which I'll show you guys later in the video. And this uses the shaky sand trick, which I showed you guys actually 9 months ago in one of the 1.14 snapshots. And the way I came across the shaky sand is pretty funny, and I'll play the clip now from 9 months ago during one of our snapshot streams where we discover new things about the snapshot. If we put a sand block right here, it should go through all the boats and end up on the bottom. Make up your mind, sand. Do you want to go through all the boats or just want to sit there and glitch? Now, it wasn't until much later when we showcased that you can also do this at the world border that people started using this boat trick of having sand glitch on top of boats to make these shaky sand farms. Now, I did do a few videos showing different types of sand glitches, but never uploaded any videos about the shaky sand farm. In the 1.15 snapshot, they nerfed using boats to make the sand shake like that. And with the sand shaking like that, it's creating a lot of updates to plants above it, making them actually grow every time they're getting updated from the sand shaking. And this can be used to make extremely fast crop farms. Now 1.15 snapshot, they changed it so that you can no longer stack sand on top of the boats. And Eagle Eye found a fix to this, which is using pistons going back and forth very quickly. And we designed this up during our snapshot stream with a whole bunch of other people. People like Zoom Strike, Grandma Mommy, and Speedster came on and came up with different designs to do the same thing. And later in the stream, we came up with this design here, which is a tileable design that can produce a large amount of sugarcane, which will automatically be converted over into bone meal. And bone meal is very useful as you can use this to pretty much grow any other crop in the game. Now, if you wonder how the shaky sand works, there is a nice video by Ed Example, one of the ProtoTech members, that goes into detail on how it works. He also made a mod which kind of allows you to see how it's all occurring, which is very nice. So check out those videos if you're curious. But essentially what's happening is the sand is getting updates from the sand block down below, which is switching between an entity state and a block state. Entity is every time you see this little line come off of it, that means it's entity. And also you can see there's like a little white line. That's how the game illustrates that stuff are entities. Then it's switching back into a block. And because it's doing so quickly, the sugarcane, which normally would pop off when a sand would start to fall, doesn't, because it doesn't stay an entity long enough. But this does create updates for the sugarcane, which then allows it to go through certain growth stages, which will eventually cause it to grow another piece on top. Now the pieces that are growing on top are growing up there, but they're immediately being destroyed by these pistons. So it's very difficult to actually see the block being placed there, but you can see the sugarcane which is being broken off from it. Now you can actually watch sugarcane as well as other crops growing by turning on your F3 screen. And in the top right hand corner right over here, you can see the age is moving upwards on the sugarcane that we're looking at here. So it's going up very quickly. And it starts out at age 0 and eventually goes up to age 15. And once that occurs, then it will produce another sugarcane block on top of it, and then the bottom piece will reset back to 0 and start all over again. But it'll only start growing if there's air above it. So what we have it do is break off the top piece very quickly, and that way there is air here most of the time. That way it is constantly trying to grow upwards. Now once these pistons break it off, they also kind of push it over here, which we have a row of hoppers, and this is picking up the sugarcane and piping it over here. Then each pipes are moved outwards a little bit, then downwards into these composters. And these composters are converting the sugarcane, which is useful in some circumstances, but in large quantity isn't as useful, and we're just converting it over into compost. Sugarcane is a pretty good item to use to make compost, as every 2 sugarcane will equal about 1 layer in the composter. And the composter has about 7 layers, and once it gets to the 7th layer, that's when it will be able to be harvested into 1 bone meal. And this can all be done automatically, so we pipe items in, and we can also pipe items out. So you'll see a bone meal will appear here in the hopper after the thing is completely full. There it goes. And then we just pipe it downwards and into this chest. You can see all the bone meal that we're getting off of it. It is actually really nice and very productive at producing bone meal. Now you may also notice we have some composters on top of these hoppers here, as well as up here. This is similar to using like furnaces or droppers on top of hoppers. And a video by Experimental Ideas found out that composters are the least leggy component to place on top of a hopper. The reason we do this is hoppers are constantly checking for items above them, and we can stop this by having some items which hoppers check to see if there's something in them to pull out. So if there was like a dropper on top of this, then this hopper would try to check the dropper to pull out any items that are inside of it. Composters also have this ability of being checked, but unlike droppers, these are not tile entities, meaning that they just hold less data for the game to keep track of. So this is an ideal use for them, and they are really cheap to craft up as well. And this is just a way to kind of reduce the lag from the hoppers here. Obviously the hoppers in here, we have to keep them open, that way they can receive any items that get pushed over by the pistons over here. Now the main component of the farm is the shaky sand, which is right here. Essentially these pistons are going back and forth, taking turns at extending their piston heads. Now I have a tick speed mod on, so I can do tick rate 1, slow down the game. And you can kind of see how it's working. The sand thinks he can fall, but then the piston comes in and supports it, so then it snaps back up as an item. And it repeats this very quickly every time a piston extends. Now when the tick speed is 1, it means that the game will progress 1 cycle every second, meaning we slow down the game about 20 times. Every time the head is retracted, there's this air gap right here, and that's when the sand thinks he can fall. But by the time he starts falling, the piston has already came back underneath and is supporting him. And you can also see how this kind of affects the sugarcane. The sugarcane looks like it's not being supported for a brief moment, but that's not a long enough time for the sugarcane to actually pop off. So let's go ahead and set it back to 20, which is the normal speed of survival. And notice we also have water beside the sugarcane. This is because for sugarcane to actually be planted or grown, it needs to have this water over here. And we have this inside some waterlogged stairs just to prevent it from spilling over here into the redstone. And I really like waterlogged stuff because it can really compact situations like this. Now the way we're breaking off the cane is actually pretty simple. We just have a clock up here which has a pulse going through it. And this is timed for about 2 seconds. So about every 2 seconds this signal will make it all the way around and then will power this strip. This strip is coming down and powering these pistons, which are the pistons that are breaking off the sugarcane. And we are putting the signal through a monostabler. This shortens the signal, so it's just like a burst, and the pistons will extend just for a brief moment. That way the piston head isn't in the way when the game is trying to grow up the next sugarcane. This clock is separate from the clock which is powering the pistons down here very quickly. This is just a observer clock, which is right here. An observer will place a power over here every 4th game tick. If we slow down the game, once again, you can kind of see this occurring. You can see about after 4 seconds, the pistons on this side will re-extend. So they extend 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That makes 1 cycle. These clocks are very simple to make and use. And we have both a on and off switch for this device as well as this one. And I'll show you guys how to set this up. I recommend placing this into your spawn chunks. That way it's always loaded on a server. Because when this device gets reloaded, entities load at a different rate than like pistons and redstone. So there's a chance that it will stop the system. So let's go ahead and I'll just demonstrate this. If you would relog and come back in, see what happened to all the sand. It all fell downwards and then it pushed these pistons over. So I went ahead and cleaned it up and put it back the way it normally was. So if you had it inside of spawn chunks, you wouldn't have to worry about this problem of it being unloaded. But if you don't have it spawn chunks, then I recommend you turning it off before leaving. And then it'll end up like this, with the sand will be down in here. And then what you'll want to do is just remove the sand like that. And then you go ahead and turn it back on. And this switch up here will go to these pistons, which can be turned on or off. And to turn them on, you just want to flick that fairly quickly. And that will put a pulse through there. Then the second switch goes to this one here, which goes to the pistons going back and forth. That will do that. And then once they are moving, you come in here and place in your sand. When you place it in, you want to make sure that it is actually shaking. So you might have to give a couple tries on the first one. Right there, now you see it's shaking. If you turn on your hitboxes with S3 and B, you can see this little blue line coming out of it. That means it is working properly. Now for all other sands that you place in, you just want to click up against this one, which will make it much more likely that it will be placed in correctly. And you come along here and just place in your sand. There, we got it all placed in. Now you just come in and place in your sugarcane. And this will make it so that all the sugarcane will be updated. And you can leave this little gap in here because none of the sugarcane will fall down here. None of the items at least. That's how you can restart it if you ever have a problem where you want to turn it off. This farm will produce around 27,000 sugarcane per hour, and if you convert them into bone meal, it will produce around 2,000 bone meal per hour. Those are some really good stats for as simple and easy as this is to use. Now, as I said in the beginning, you can go ahead and make more of these and also extend this. So right now we have kind of our power source on this side, which is powering everything in this direction, but you can go ahead and mirror this by putting everything back on this side and using the same power source to power both of them. And you can also do a similar thing with this power source here, making it power both sides as well. And if you want to, you can also stack this or put it side by side, just like most any other crop farm where you can make it as big as you want. So I also made some other designs. These are based off of Zoom Strike's design, where you have kind of like a circuit using just observers. So this design over here, he also has 2 sticky pistons with a slab in between, which makes it slightly slower. But you can also just use 2 pistons there, and then same thing, you put your sand in, just make sure it is shaking when you place it in, just like so, and then you place your sugarcane on top, and it will grow and get pushed off by these piston with slime blocks over here, and get pushed over into these hoppers and go into the composters, and you get bone meal at the bottom. Very similar to that design over there, except I just kind of shrunk it down in case you just want to make a small one that sits in your base. And if this one would break, it's not that difficult to fix. Like I said, just put the sand back in again and place the cane back on top. And it doesn't take as many resources either to get this going. The clock is up here. There's a monostable right over here. I also made another one over here. This one is pretty much like that one, except instead of using sugarcane, we have bamboo in here. And bamboo can't be used in a composter. But let me go ahead and start this up. Shaky sand in here, and then I put the bamboo in. Now when you put the bamboo in, it's a little bit harder because it first starts out as a sapling. Then you have to make sure it's grown up enough so that it's actually considered a block. So a little sapling, that's not gonna work, so you have to double click pretty quickly until it grows like that. And then at that state, it will continue to grow, and you can do the same thing on this side. Just spam really fast. And there you go. So now you got 2 of the bamboo plants growing in there. You can close it back up again. And then this will produce a lot of bamboo. And with this up here, it's also supposed to be simple, so you do get some loss, but the majority of it gets pushed over here into these hoppers. And with bamboo, you can use it as a fuel source, so you can put it directly into your furnace. That way you always have some fuel in your furnace whenever you need to cook something up. That's also a pretty simple design where we just have observers going in a circle. So this observer is detecting this piston moving and going around and powering this observer. And it goes in a circle. This guy's doing the exact same thing. And then I just put some observers on top to put them into these pistons here, which will pulse them at the right time to break off the bamboo. And as you can see, bamboo grows quite a bit faster than the sand, which has to go through a lot of different growth stages. So you can get a lot more items with this up here than with like sugarcane. Now, if you would like to build up any of these designs, I will provide the world download down in the description. That way you guys can get this exact world and see how each of these are built up. And if somebody does do a tutorial on it, then I will link their video down in the description. I hope you guys really enjoy these devices, and would love to see you guys have these in your very own worlds, as I have future-proof them so that they should work in 1.15 when it comes out. So make sure to go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, as well as share this so more people can build this in their worlds. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and bye-bye!